It's the penultimate match of the season. Arsenal against Manchester United at Old Trafford. A special game, a historic game, but one which we don't have a particularly great record in, but one which we need the points in more than ever before. This is the Arsenal Preview Show. Hello and welcome to the Gonna Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of what is our Arsenal Preview Show, the show in which we look ahead to the next Arsenal fixture with the help of some fantastic members from our Discord server. I'm joined this week by Paul. How you doing, Paul? You good? You well?
I'm all good.
Good stuff. Also joined by Damien. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. Enjoying the sunshine.
Yes, indeed. T-shirt weather. It's glorious. Absolutely good. It can be 20 degrees this weekend as well, so it's only going to get toastier in the UK.
I've already got planned breakfast at the beach tomorrow morning.
Beautiful stuff. Love that. Breakfast on the beach. Where are you based to do that?
Up in Yorkshire, in Scarborough.
Oh,
so
right.
basically go to the seafront. They've got loads of cafes and whatever along there. Just go there, sit outside on the seafront and enjoy it.
You get about 7 days of sunshine a year up there, surely.
Yeah, this is one of them.
Indeed. And we're joined by Chris. Good to see you back on the show, mate. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Nice to be back. Good to talk about a game that's really quite interesting.
It is an interesting game. Yeah, we'll jump straight into things, Chris. I think we'll go in reverse order and back to you then. What is it about this one, of course, that's intriguing you so much?
I think for me, it's the history, isn't it? It's all those years of them giving us grief. It's all those times when we've struggled, right? And actually, we're on the up now. Right? They're the ones that are struggling, right? And this is just karma and payback. And you know, all those Man United fans out there didn't know how to lose. Well, they know now, and we just need to make sure that they remember that on Sunday.
Yeah, I see in the chat box, Graham saying 8-0 to the Arsenal. Damien, there is something I think about Arsenal fans looking at this, looking at United's form and thinking, well, we could batter them here. But is there a worry that we've become too overconfident with this one?
No, because, I mean, we can become overconfident. We're allowed to be. We're not the ones that are on the pitch. But, you know, for the players, it's just going to be another game for them. You know, the ones that are here now don't know what the 8-2 felt like and things like that. So for me, they're just going to go out and get the job done. And I'm trying not to sound overconfident or arrogant or anything like that. But like Chris said, with the history of the fixture, you know, my prime years with Arsenal really were during the rivalry between Arsene Wenger and Alex Ferguson. You know, and I felt the 8-2 and all the other results that happened, and I get an immense amount of pleasure in seeing how much they're struggling at the moment. In fact, I just want it to be worse. And I know for a fact that if we play to our best and they play like they did against Palace, that revenge could actually be on the cards because we will destroy them. Yeah,
there seems to be a lot of fear, you know, from the United side of things. And obviously there's very good reason why they would have that fear, considering how good that we have been and how poor United have been recently. They've also got a number of injury issues. Mason Mount's not expected to be back for this game. Martinez is not expected to return for this one either. They are going to get some players back. Bruno Fernandes will be back. Marcus Rashford will be back. And there's one other, Scott McTominay, I think I mentioned. He is going to be back as well. So, you know, there's going to be some returnees, but there's still potential that Casemiro could be playing at centre-half again. It could even be the same back four that played in that 4-0 against Palace.
And that's the thing, having Rashford and Rashford and Bruno back is all well and good for them going forward, but that ain't going to help them one jot go in defence, because all Bruno's going to do is throw his arms up in the air and start pouting, and Marcus Rashford just go walkabouts like he normally does. So it's the defenders they need back.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus Rashford, you're right. I appreciate what he does going forwards, but every single time that I've seen him play for United at the moment, he lacks motivation, it seems, and he's not chasing back anywhere near as much as United are going to need him to in this game. Paul, how are you feeling ahead of this trip to Old Trafford? Are you buying into the 8-0 routes of this world?
I'm quietly confident. There's so many bad memories of Old Trafford. There's just that little bit of doubt in me that's like, I think it's ingrained now. It's ingrained.
Yeah. What is it about Old Trafford, though, that you think's made it so hard for us to, even because there's been the amount of times we've gone there and they've got, well, Arsenal are the favourites this time, United are in a poor form, and they still managed to blow it.
I think in the past we've had players that can't stand up to the big occasion. you know, and sort of massive stadium, a massive loud crowd, and all that. You know, they always get up for the Arsenal, and I think we had a lot of players that sort of shrunk in that, you know, and we've had, you know, for years, players that just shrink. But this group of players, they ain't going to do that. You know, they got the backbone to just say, you know, we own this, you know, and I think all that has gone before them doesn't enter their head. They're just like, we are who we are.
Yeah.
You know. So there's me positive.
I'm bracing myself now. Go on.
But me negative is all them defeats at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
Years, you know. But then remembering the Will Sylvan Will Todd and, you know, moment. Yeah.
Mars. Yeah. Who knows what we could be waiting for tomorrow. Of course, tomorrow's game will follow, Chris. Manchester City, we're playing Sunday. It's the first time I think that Arsenal and Man City aren't playing on the same day for a little while. It's usually the other way around. Arsenal playing before this time. We're responding to them, and I'm not going into any Man City game with any expectation that the opposition will do anything. We heard from Bert Leno today saying he's had Arsenal players texting him saying, can you do us a bit of a favour, please? Make sure you affiliate with our Willian coming out with quotes saying that, you know, they're going into this game looking for it to be, because it's their last home game of the season. So, you know, they want to go out on a high. That's the motivation that they've got. But how are you feeling about the dynamic of these two games?
First of all, the timing. I quite like the fact that we've got different dynamics going on. I quite like the fact that we're testing ourselves, and that we're not. It's not. You know, we're always going first or we're always going last. I think we're on a journey to learn, and we need to experience these things so that when when it really comes a hard time, you know, then actually we've got that experience in our locker to be able to deliver it. I don't think in my wildest dreams, right? You know, Anne Hathaway and Trossard level dreams, right? I can't see Luton doing. I'm sorry, I can't see Fulham doing anything, right? I can't see anybody doing anything against City, right? They're relentless. We just have to play our game, and we just have to get our points. And if we're lucky, you know, then great. And if not, you know, it's still going to be I think you said this the other day, and I've been saying all season to people as they get excited, wait for 2 weeks to the end of the season. Are we still in it? Right? Yeah. For me, right, it's a week to go before the end of the season. We're still in it. This is genius, right? After all those horrible years, right? This is top drawer fun, right? Yeah. And all those Chelsea fans and Man United fans and the Tottenham fans and all those sorts of people, they would love to be where we are.
They'd be... The things they would do to be in the position where we are, of just having a chance, you know, at the title. And yes, it's slim. And yes, it's fine margins. And we're relying on the most consistent Premier League side of potentially Premier League history to slip up, you know. And the likelihood of that remains really low. But there is that chance. And that's what keeps us going. And that's what keeps me so motivated going into the future beyond this season, that, you know, we continually move in the right direction. No one said we'd be challenging for a title last season. They thought we'd be challenging just for top four. We did that with ease and then surprised everyone with the title race. And then the narrative was, well, it was a one-off. You know, that was the best chance Arsenal will ever have to win the league. And now we've gone and, you know, put ourselves even in an even better position to try and win it this season. And we picked up, you know, 46 of an available 51 points in 2024, which is staggering. And yet that still might not be enough, despite the fact we've also not only just done that, but one more goal will see us score the most Premier League goals we've ever scored. And one more win will be the most Premier League wins we've ever had in a Premier League season as well. So but it is crazy.
But more importantly, Tom, sorry to interrupt. We're playing great football. Right? We're not doing this by scraping the margins. We're not doing this by not having a plan, by not doing what we're supposed to do. We're actually going out there and exciting our fans and putting on a really good show. And, you know, the numbers are fabulous, and we all love the numbers, right? But you can't beat the emotion. You can't beat that shouting. You can't beat that. You can't buy that, right, in any other way, right, except for having the right team at the right time. So for me, it's that fabulous emotional roller coaster. Look, if Man City get kicked out 150 million charges or whatever and lose 27 million points from the last 62 years and get relegated to the third division in Scotland, they're not, the teams that take over that win are not going to have the experience that we've had, even if they get the little name on the trophy.
Yeah.
So sometimes in life, you just got to go, I was going to swear, sorry. This is fabulous. Enjoy it. Make a note in your diary, right? Like, take photographs of you having a good time, right? Because, you know, you can't buy this. And I've had, like, you know, Paul and other people, right? This is my 50, the other day was my 51st anniversary of my first ever Arsenal game, 28th of April, 2073. You know, it's like, this is a lifelong passion, right? Remember this day, right? Remember these days, right? And we're going to be back next year, right? You know, we're going in the right direction. We've got a plan. We've got the best manager in the league. We've got fans who can't stop talking and exhilarated about how excited they are about their team. You know, we've got this, and we've got a progression. And you look over the fence at Man United, and they've got a manager that the team don't play for. They're going in the complete opposite direction to us, right, at the moment, right? So please, every single Arsenal fan out there, pinch yourself, take a photo, and enjoy the ride.
Indeed.
Is Chris available to do the team talk on Sunday?
Yeah, get him in the dressing room, please.
Okay.
I'll pull some strings and see if we can get that sorted. Stuart McFarlane, part 2. No, it was great. I think you're right. I'll look back on this season if we don't win it, and I'll think about, you know, like last season, I think back to being in the ground when Nelson scored against Bournemouth and the joy I felt in that moment, being at Villa Park when Jorginho smacked the ball off Emi Martinez's head. Like, those moments, I will never forget the joy I felt in those. I couldn't necessarily celebrate them as much as everybody else in the ground could because of the restrictions I'm under when in the stadium. But, you know, even the other day when I was covering the Spurs game from home, you know, I'm watching the North London derby and seeing us somehow hit 3 in the first half despite not playing particularly well, and being able to enjoy that Trossard's goal against Bayern to equalise, or even the goal he scored against Porto as well, and David Raya saving that game in the penalty shootout. There's going to be moments from this season, even if we don't win the league, where we'll be able to look back on so fondly. But Damien, I don't want this to be one of those moments that I'm not looking back on fondly. The importance of beating Man United, but also the importance of stuffing Erik ten Hag and his words from the entirety of what's felt like every single press conference he's ever done. He's mentioned Arsenal and mentioned the supposed offside that they should have had go their way, despite it factually being offside, despite the fact he claims that there should have been a penalty on Haaland, despite the fact it definitely wasn't a penalty. So is that also figuring in your mind? And is that another part of getting an important, but also consolidating a really strong victory to stick it to Ten Hag as well?
Yeah, I think for me, it's there is a Ten Hag factor there, and there's also the fact that Man United as a club, whether it's the look of them or the players or the manager, whatever, they're just a very unlikable bunch of people, really. But it's also the friends and the family that you know and that you have that are Manchester United supporters that you've had to put up with years and years of not being able to brag and whatever else. Whereas now, I mean, hopefully it's not going to come back and bite me on the backside, but the amount I've been rubbing it in and tormenting them.
That's what it's about, though, mate. Like,
yeah,
if it does bite you on the backside, so be it. But that's what it's so about, you know?
And the thing is, I used to very much have the outlook when it comes to Arsenal that I weren't going to get too carried away. It's all going to go wrong at some point, blah, 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 blah. But as of this season, I've just kind of had the outlook that I'm just going to enjoy it. And I think what a lot of Arsenal supporters need to do as well is they need to get the mentality of like a Man City supporter, because Man City don't worry about who they're playing. They know how good they are, you know. And I'm kind of in that groove at the moment that whoever we play, it's not overconfidence or arrogance or anything like that. It's I know how good we are. The only way we're not going to win is because of us. You know, United don't have a choice in this. You know, we're either going to allow them to win or we're going to stuff them. It's one or the other.
Yeah, there isn't a way where you foresee United winning this game because of United. It's that meme of the guy with the stick, and it's being Arsenal holding the stick, which is Arsenal hitting the guy that is Arsenal. Yeah,
there's no way we will look back on this match and say, do you know what? We played our absolute best, but Man United were just better than us.
Yeah,
we will look back and say we didn't win it because we didn't take a chances, or we didn't do this, or we didn't do that. It will be because of something we've not done. It won't be anything to do with Manchester United. And that's what I'm enjoying telling my Manchester United colleague that I've got at work and my Manchester United friend that I've got, that you're only winning this game if we let you.
I think that's been the story of Arsenal's season. I'm trying to think of a game. Bayern away, perhaps where the other team were genuinely just better than us. Because Villa away, I think that we deserve more from that game.
Yeah.
Fulham away, I think Fulham were better than us on that day, actually, to be fair, and that's why we lost, because we were pretty poor that day against Fulham. But
again,
West
that's
Ham
because
we're
we
better
didn't.
than.
That's
Again,
because
right.
we didn't turn up and we didn't perform.
But that's the only real example I can think of where the other team were genuinely better than what we were.
Mm.
And I think you're right about the Man United game, and that taking on the same kind of guild that if we don't win, we'll only be able to look at ourselves. We won't be going.
Because, I mean, you look at that defense. If they do have Casemiro, Evans, and whatever in the centre of the defence, then Odegaard, Rice, Partey, Saka, all of them, they're going to have an absolute field day with that defence. If no disrespect to Palace, Palace did play really well on that night, and it's probably one of the best performances they've put in many years. But they don't hold a candle to us when it comes to what we can create going forward. So it will literally just be a case of how many do we want to score.
This is getting dangerous, people. I can sense it already. The overconfidence. I'm hoping that it delivers. I'm confident that it will, to be fair. And but there is this record, Paul, as we talked about, one win at Old Trafford since 2006. What is it, do you think, that has stopped us? Because even last season, competing for the title was the first game we lost. Actually, the first game we dropped points in last season. And there were contentious decisions in that game. The Odegaard moment in the build-up to Martinelli's goal, which was ruled out, which in hindsight was determined to have actually not and shouldn't have been ruled out. Of course, they hit us twice on the counter. But what is it about Old Trafford, you think, that stopped us from getting over the line there before?
Well, I think, last season when we had the decisions going against us, I think that got into the players' heads more than anything. And I think that, like, this season they'll brush it off and they'll go again, whereas I think that got into their heads, losing out on their decisions. And as I say, in the past they haven't had the backbone to stand up to the crowd. And was it a 90,000 seat stadium? Was it or something? I mean, that's a lot of noise and a lot of a lot of atmosphere. But I actually think that this weekend, it'll start off that lad. I think the team will be up for it at the start. As soon as we start playing our football, the crowd's going to go quiet. The team's going to go back into its shell, and we'll just dominate them. I actually believe that. I think the way they've been performing without any confidence at all. You can go out there and you can think, we're playing Arsenal, and we always get up for the Arsenal game, and the crowd will be like giving it loads and loads and loads. And but as soon as we start playing our football, start passing it around, the crowd will go quiet, the team will go back into their shell, and I think we'll just pull them apart.
I hope you're right. I think we've definitely got the capabilities to do that, and it's going to be interesting to see what team Arteta goes to try and achieve that. Speaking of which, let's go to our lineups. Paul, we're going back to you and starting with your team. Talk us through your selection, because there's some interesting choices, which I'm sure the listeners will spot almost immediately.
Yeah, I've gone a bit controversial, and I know like people, what, so start off with White, Saliba, Gabriel, and Raya to pick themselves. Now, I've gone Zinchenko at the back there, and the reason is I think that Zinchenko this season has missed the Partey and the Xhaka partnership. I think last season, when Zinchenko was going on his little walkabouts, Xhaka would be covering him, giving him plenty of cover. Yeah. And it allowed Zinchenko to just express himself. Also, Martinelli. I've gone with Martinelli because of Wan-Bissaka. I think that it's hard to get past him. He wins nearly every tackle. The only way really is to go past him with pace. I think having Zinchenko coming into midfield, pulling people into the centre and overloading the centre, it's going to give Martinelli space out there. Whereas when he was playing with Tomiyasu or Kivior likes to go wide. It doesn't suit Martinelli. You know, Martinelli really wants to be out there on his own. He wants everything to sort of be drawn away from him, so then he can get on the ball and he can run at people, you know, and use his pace. So that's why I've gone with them too. Yeah. I think we'll overload the midfield. We'll stop their press. Gabriel and Partey will be covering for any sort of misplaced passes Zinchenko might make.
You explained it really well. Of course, the rest of the team you've gone Partey, Odegaard, Saka, Havertz. Odegaard's your star man, though. He loves a game against Manchester United and did it obviously earlier on in the season.
Yeah. Odegaard, I mean, he's for me, he's player of the season this season. You know, if you see him, he's got the ball at his feet. No one's taking it off him. You know, he does what he likes with it. You know, and now I think people stay off him a little bit. You know, they don't try and rush in and try and take the ball off him because he just makes them look foolish. You know, now with Evans and Casemiro, I think, you know, you got two really old people in the centre of defence there. Too really old, and I just think like Odegaard and Havertz are just going to be laughing. Laughing, you know. Yeah, you can see them in the tunnel, looking at them two and think, "We've got them."
We finally reached the day where we're winning games in the tunnel. You know, I mean, we used to always have that thread, always had that talking point about, you know, the intimidation of the tunnel, thinking about, you know, looking over the Keane and Vieira, you know, of old, the way in which Arsenal kind of matched up against United, and it used to be, I think Arsenal shrunk somewhat in the tunnel, you know, especially in the late mid to late 2010s, certainly. And now it seems that the other teams that look over and they see that image, of course, of White, Gabriel, and Saliba looking over, you know, at the opposition side. It's now painted. I think it's painted on the Blackstock Road somewhere, actually. That image, and I think that sums up perfectly kind of the squad and where it's at the moment. Next up is Damien, who's gone more for the favourites. But talk us through it, mate.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it pretty much picks itself. Like I said before the show, that I would love to put Martinelli in the team, but I just don't know how you can leave out Trossard with the form that he's in. If we're going to score a goal, it's likely to come from Trossard. And I think, you know, Martinelli, by all means, bring him on as a substitute later on in the game. Tommy, I don't think he ever really lets us down. You know, whenever he plays, you can see the 100% commitment that he's giving. And I just also love the fact that every time he plays, he always seems to pop up just outside the box to take an opportunity at goal, you know, just randomly appearing there. And the rest of it kind of picks up. I've gone for Thomas Partey as my star man because for me, he just shields Gabriel and Saliba. He, you know, just plays a simple pass to Rice or Odegaard and just sets us on our way in attack. And yeah, kind of touching on what Paul was saying, we could have an absolute field day with their defence if Odegaard can pull strings and Rice can do what he does, Trossard, Saka. And also just kind of, I want to put Partey as a star man because it might be the last opportunity I get. And I think he's been, despite the fact he's often injured, putting it politely, he has also been a very, very immense player for us.
Yeah, I think who knows what's going to happen in the summer, whether or not he's going to move on. But I think, you know, Paul raised a really good point about, you know, Zinchenko not having Partey. And maybe if the Zinchenko had Partey this season, maybe we'd be talking about Zinchenko starting this game more confidently. Yeah. It's a really interesting point, not having Partey and how that's affected kind of different selections as well. Finish off the trio, Chris, because you've made one interesting change. So talk us through it.
Yeah, so the Tomiyasu Zinchenko thing, I'll deal with that one first. I think Zinchenko's likely to lose his head more. And I think Tomiyasu, he's taller and stronger in the tunnel. And if we're going to win this before we hit the turf, we want the big boys standing there. Trossard, I think Trossard's got more guile at the moment than Martinelli. And if you bring on Martinelli with 20 minutes to go, I just think all the old boys are going to be, schlecking off to the old people's home because he's just going to run rings around them. So I think you've always got that to come in. Jorginho, I think I can't see Tomiyasu and Benjamin spending much time in defensive work. So I think I'm just slipping them back into a three at the back, as it were, with Jorginho very slightly in front of them, and then just allowing the rest of the guys to go and let rip.
I think Jorginho's an interesting pick because I think about that Liverpool game where he had a man of the match performance, and Liverpool obviously are much more threatening, but like United are going to be expected to, they played us on the counter and we controlled and dictated the play, with Jorginho being really key in the midfield in that game. So it could be that there's a similar, even though United, of course, I don't think hold a candle to Liverpool this season, but stylistically there's certainly similarities there as to why Jorginho's pick is interesting. Rice, though, stands out for you amongst the others. Yeah,
I think he's got a lot to prove in these big games, and I think he's had such a brilliant year. And he needs to show Man United why they didn't buy him and why he didn't choose them. And I think he's that. There's so much stuff going on in his personal life that I just think he's got that. This is an opportunity for him to stand up and go, you know what, all of that stuff going on, right? Have some of this.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked him, because I think his motivation in his head. Well, and I did stop, didn't I? All that motivation in his head, I think, will drive him. And Odegaard, I think, is going to have a field day running around. But I think Declan will be the one just holding everything together, just keeping it all smooth.
Yeah, he was obviously really important in the home game. Scored the winning goal, or the second goal. Of course, Jesus came on and scored the third. But he was stunning in that game. And there's been games this season. I think about the Spurs game at home where he came off at half time and how we missed him in that second half. He's just been such a presence throughout the campaign, throughout the season, and he's only going to get. It's crazy to think this is his first season in an Arsenal shirt, and he's one of the nominees, of course, for not just the Arsenal Player of the Season, but for the Premier League Player of the Season as well. And that shows you how much of a bargain £105 million has turned out to be. I've picked, like Damien, the favourites for this one. I've got unchanged from the last few wins. It is difficult to change a winning formula. I absolutely empathise with both Paul and Chris for both of their changes that they've made. I think there's a lot of sense behind them as well. But that into next season, I think, is valuable, knowing that we're going to have options, knowing that there's going to be stronger players being bought, we hope as well, to make these types of games even harder for us to pick. And of course, when it comes to playing 2 games a week, as we'll have to do even more regularly, with the Champions League, of course, being extended to 8 games rather than just 6 in the first half of the campaign, we're going to need that depth and rotation, and we're going to have more discussions next season in our preview shows about that. So that's going to be exciting. But for this one, yeah, it's the favourites. The only standout change from mine to the others is Kai Havertz is my star man. This guy just loves the big occasions. He just loves scoring in the big games, scoring against Chelsea, scoring against Spurs. He really does pop up in these games. And so I'm hoping that he can continue to solidify that reputation he's built up in the second half of this campaign, continue to slam the faces of his critics into the mud even further, because he's been stunning for us in the second half of the campaign, and put himself in the conversation as well amongst, I think, the top 6 of player for the season contenders as well. So I'm really hoping he turns up in this one with an absolute banger of a goal. It'd be great to see. Maybe 3 or 4 would he? I don't think I'm being too greedy with that. Just asking for a couple more. Right, let's go to predictions then. Paul, we'll start with you. Scoreline and scorers, please.
Okay, I'm going to go 4-0. And I'm going to go with Saka. And I'm going to go with a hat-trick from Odegaard set up by Havertz. Yeah. I think Havertz will be playing in Odegaard, and he's going to get an hat-trick. First one from Saka.
Love it. Damien.
I want to go big, but I'm going to be sensible about it and what I actually think will probably happen. I think it will be 3-1. I don't think we're ever going to really be worried about it, other than maybe a 10-minute spell. I think we'd be 2-0 up by the hour mark. Then with 75 on there, Man United to get a goal, and then we'll score the third a little bit later on when they're chasing the equaliser. So I'm going to go for Saka and Gabriel from a corner for our first two, and then Martinelli to get a third.
Goodness me, if this game goes to 2-1, I don't think I'm going to be able to cope with that, especially if, who knows what's happened at Craven Cottage the day before. Chris?
So I'm as ever. I'm going to go with Paul's suggestion of 4-0. I think Hazard will get a brace, and I think the other two will be shared between Trossard and maybe Odegaard. I think we have to go with you have to go on the front foot.
Just got to let the wife in.
Yeah.
Okay, mate. No worries. I love that. Sorry, Chris.
I wonder where that went on the pitch, but anyway.
Also, if there's some kind of analogy.
And this is the last time you're going to have to look at the luminescent green shirt with the away thing too.
Yeah,
so this shirt will be gone into history, right? And the bruised banana was hated when it came out. So this one,
if we win the league in it, it changes everything.
So yeah, 4-0.
Lovely stuff. I'll tell you what, if this was at home, I'd be saying like 3-1 or 4-1. But our away record at keeping clean sheets has been stunning this season, But I actually understand why people are saying are giving a goal to United, because you just kind of, I think it's more of a sympathy, if anything else, towards United.
It's a fact as well that Bruno and Rashford are capable of that moment of magic that they haven't done for most of the season, but they can against big teams.
Yeah, Højlund's capable of it, as well. And Rashford loves a goal against Arsenal. You can't seem to stop him scoring against us, even though he's not been in the best of form. So I am still going to be confident with it and go 3-0. We're going to go with a Havertz screamer. We're going to go with a goal from Declan Rice again. And then kind of like do you remember when Luis Suarez did that jump and dive in front of David Moyes, I think it was? I kind of want Declan Rice to do that in front of Ten Hag. That'd be great. He won't, but I just want to see it. And Tommy Asu as well to get one. I love when the underrated players score. And one from the back post from a corner or something like that. He's, you nearly had a hand, or arguably did have a hand in the goal against Spurs when he kind of forced Højbjerg to head back into his own net. So hopefully you can get on the scoreline as well. So yeah, Havertz, Rice, and Tommy Asu with the goals. And let's see what you guys are saying in the chat box. I sense there may be quite a lot of hubris here. Quest for the Best says 5-2 to the Arsenal. Temi says 12-0 to Man United, he's saying. I don't know if this is reverse psychology. I assume it must be. 7 goals for Marcus Rashford, he says. Rand says 2-0 Arsenal, Havertz and Odegaard. Wilson says 3-1 to Arsenal. Tom says 4-0, Tommy, Havertz, Trossard and Rice. Matt G's going for a 2-0 Arsenal win, Havertz and Saka. Paul's going for a 3-0 Arsenal victory, Gabriel, Havertz and Trossard. Bryce says 4-0, Havertz 2, Saka 2. Joker says 4-1 to the Arsenal, as Mane says 3-1 to the Arsenal. And BX Gunner says 2-1 to the Arsenal. Eric says 4-0. Tony says 3-0. All in favour of the Gunners. And Chris says 3-1 to the Arsenal as well. Interesting from Usmane as well, who said Timber left back, player that we've not discussed today, but could be potentially back with the group tomorrow for the first time, of course, since the opening day of the season. If just anyone could jump in on this, if I told you he was fully fit and he could return, would anyone be tempted to start him?
No.
I'm really glad.
He's the only player. He has got better the longer he's been injured.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. He's like Ozil. Like when Ozil's out, like he gets better when he's not playing.
Is anyone else aware?
Player ever.
Is anyone else aware that there's a third Timber?
He's got another brother.
Yeah, it's the older one of the three. Something popped up on social media earlier on, and I was just like, absolutely no idea there was a third Timber. Yeah.
Yes.
He's the eldest
Timber
of the three.
Plays for VVV Venlo. And again, it's mad. He's 24. Yeah, he's the older of the three. Is Quentin a twin brother?
Not sure.
They're both 22. 22, 17th of June 2001, and Jurian was 17th of June. Yeah, they are twins. So there you go. Some Timber trivia for you this evening. It'll be interesting to see him back in the squad. If he is indeed there, I'd be surprised if he didn't come off the bench at least for a few minutes. But
I'd like to see him get a couple of appearances from the bench, because there's always that mental side for him of what's it going to be like when he gets a big tackle and whatever else. It'd just be nice if he can have 2 games where he gets 15, 20 minutes and, gets that tackle and comes through it perfectly fine and he's ready to go next season then.
My fear is that he plays and then gets called up for the Netherlands.
I think one of the things we've sort of, because all of our teams are so close, right? I think that there's an opportunity with the bench to put like Koza Dubry on it, put some young kids on the bench so they feel the atmosphere of going into that cauldron.
They won't get any minutes though, Chris.
They won't get any, but they'll sit there, right? And they'll feel it and they'll be part of it. It's almost like an early blooding of...
who do you kick out? Who gets kicked off the bench? Ketia, I guess, maybe.
Well, yeah.
You have Jesus there, of course.
Yeah, you're going to leave Jesus. You're going to have Jesus on the bench, and you're going to, don't know. I didn't go through the list.
I think you've got to kick one of Smith Rowe or Vieira for Nwaneri, I guess, is the other one.
Right. So either of those two doesn't really matter. I don't think Vieira will play this game. I don't think he would come on, and I don't think he'd impact it. Smith Rowe, if we're 4-0, well, when we're 4-0 up, you could bring him on for some minutes to try and get his value up because the reality is that he's very much in the shop window. I'm sort of thinking those sorts of things are more Everton at home next week. This week, I think we've all got that thing going on. That we've got this history in our mind. We need to see this one out. And this one isn't about sentiment. This one's about winning.
No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. So I love that we went from get some kids on the bench to this is about sentiment. Go get them in the matter.
I'm putting kids on the bench. I'm just not having I'm not having a sentiment for Vieira or because I don't think they're going to come on. If this game's really tight and bitty, they're not going to come on and influence it. And if we're 20 minutes to go and we're 5-0 up, then you might as well put kids on. It doesn't make any sense. We have to have this. We have to. It's all very well talking about fancy new players and whether we're going to buy this player or that player, but we've got these really great kids coming through. And if we don't show them a real progression, they're all going to go to Newcastle. They're going to sign contracts with other people. And then they're not going to do for us what Saka does. So for me, I think Arteta's always thinking 3 steps ahead, a bit like when you play chess. And I think I'm hoping he's already thinking that way.
I hope so, as I think he's had missed opportunities in the past with some of the kids. Wolves on the last game last season, Namoyo Kojadubri's on the bench didn't come off. So unnecessary to not give him a chance. The Lons game at home, 5-0 up at half time. He did learn and give Nwaneri a chance at West Ham when we were already 6-0, I think, up at the time, or at least 5-0 up. But yeah, he needs to do some more with that. So hopefully he can. That's going to bring us to the end of today's show. Thank you to all those that have listened. Do drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Thank you for listening. Please do show plenty of love to my fantastic panelists. Paul, thank you for your time, mate. Tell people where they can find you.
In the Discord, as always. On Twitter or X, whatever we want to call it now. Daddy Gooner. That's about it, really.
Yeah. Lovely stuff. Thank you, Paul. And it was nice to see you, of course, at the it's called, what is it now? Brookgate. They changed it from the tavern, of course, when we watched.
It was a good evening, wasn't it?
It was a good evening. Had some nice, it was great actually to see so many members there from the Discord server. So yeah, if you'd like to join the Discords, we sometimes do little meetups. It's quite fun, and I look forward to the next one. Damien, thank you, mate, for your time as always. Tell people they can find you.
Find me on the Discord, and yeah, it's been a pleasure to be on here. Thanks a lot.
As always, mate. As always, enjoy the beach breakfast tomorrow.
Oh, well.
Have fun. And Chris, great to see you back on the show again, mate. I'm glad we sorted out the tech difficulties eventually. But tell people where they can find you.
Again, like everybody else on Discord or on game day, you can find me by the gate 103, standing there with a pint before the game, talking really, really important things. And because I clearly do understand everything about football, and I'm a genius. So if you want to come hear that, crack on and buy me a beer, or I'll buy you a beer, and there we are.
There you go. Talking like he's Mick Arteta. So, yeah, lovely stuff. Massive thanks to Paul, Damien and Chris again. Always brilliant to see you guys, and you do fantastic work when you come on. So thank you. And thank you to your listeners, of course, for listening as well. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning, bright and early, 8 a.m, rounding up Mikel Arteta's press conference, any other news that has dropped throughout the course of the next, fair few hours until the morning, of course. But stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. Enjoy your Friday evening. and enjoy your Saturday morning with a lovely beach breakfast if you're having one. See you soon. And as always, of course, up the Arsenal.